There's just quite a few things I think overall going on in the world that broad strokes we should possibly mention. I would say one of those things is last month, Egypt called for the return of the Rosetta Stone and other ancient artifacts. Thousands of Egyptians are demanding the repatriation of the Rosetta Stone from the British Museum back to its home country. So, for all of those nationalists and patriots out there who were always concerned about looting and stealing, I hope they're the first ones signing up to write the British government and tell them that they need to give back the artifacts to the various countries the British Empire stole it from over their centuries of pillaging, raping, and stealing from other countries.
Yes, indeed.
Moving on. An ex-police officer named James Brennan was charged in shooting at a teenager who was sitting eating a burger in a parking lot. So apparently there is going to be a case with regarding that situation. For those who are unfamiliar, a San Antonio police officer was charged with 2 counts of aggravated assault for shooting and almost killing a teenager who was eating a hamburger in his car in a parking lot because he thought that this was a teenager that he had pulled over or attempted to pull over on another evening and had gotten away. Is that the correct? Am I
Yes.
telling the story correctly, Jay? I'm doing it off the cuff. So I'm glad. I'm happy to report that that officer has been charged. What say you on that situation?
I'm surprised that this officer was charged in the state of Texas, but this kid got shot, I believe, 5 times.
Yeah,
He was not the
fire.
person that he thought he was. This officer
Mhm.
was new on the job and apparently did not realize that car manufacturers actually make, multiple versions of the car that they make. So it is possible that, the same make, model, and color of a car that you interacted with might be out there and might have nothing to do with that interaction, especially
Right.
in a city like San Antonio, which is not a small town.
Yep. Shameful.
Absolutely.
Out of pocket, but at least they seem to be moving ahead on a case, whereas a lot of the other cases, the police officers are either still on duty or are on paid leave, and the cases seem to be stagnant. But in this case, they seem to be moving forward with it. So we'll see how that plays out. In other news, OPEC has supported the decision for the oil cartels to cut production by 2 million barrels per day of oil starting in the month of November. And because of it, the White House said that they are looking to reevaluate their partnership with Saudi Arabia. Oh, is that what it took? And more interestingly, in the science world, NASA was able to interrupt the course of an asteroid using a technology called DART that now they've been able to use it to throw off the course of meteors or asteroids. So if any are ever headed towards the planet, we will not be in grave danger as we once thought, which is a major accomplishment. And kudos to the NASA team who was behind that. And also, the CDC has okayed booster shots for kids between the ages of 5 and 12. That's been approved by the FDA last month. The Food and Drug Administration has given the green light for elementary school age kids to get the updated booster doses, one made by Pfizer for 5 to 11-year-olds and a version from Moderna for those as young as 6 years old.
That's very interesting. I also saw that there was some court case in New York that says people that got laid off because they rejected the vaccine are now going to get back pay.
Yes.
Just for New York State.
Case. Yes.
Now, that's going to get appealed to a higher court, is it not? Or is it already?
I would assume it will get appealed. I don't know how much support it would get. And in an election cycle, that's not going to be the theme that's going to come up.
Interesting. Because I believe that if this does happen, then the government is screwing over all those companies because they were all told you cannot be sued for this. You are indemnified from being sued for wrongful termination for this. That's what all these companies were told. So if this goes through and it goes to this, illegitimate conservative Supreme Court and they rule in favor of it, that's going to screw over a whole bunch of companies, both corporate and small. Now, some small companies didn't lay people off. If you were small, you maybe didn't have to, but we'll see how that plays out.
Which is why I think, to your point, the conservative courts won't vote in favor of it. They'll vote on the side of businesses.
Interesting. Okay. I know, but so what bothers me is the conservative courts might vote on the side of anti-vaxxers because unfortunately the conservative movement, while it does support companies, they also rail against woke companies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they have definitely thrown open the door and welcomed in anti-vaxxers. Not to get into vax versus anti-vax right here. I do believe maybe those folks should be able to get their jobs back.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of giving them back pay, that
remains to be seen. That's the sticky part, not the getting the job back, the back pay part. Who's really accountable for that?
That's very sticky. And if you're a small to medium-sized company, that could fuck with you.
Yeah, agreed. That'll be an interesting case to follow, and it will be even more interesting to see if it is appealed.
Yeah, yes, indeed.